All right, there we go. Now people can hear us. I just left the arraignment. Jessica got here 2 minutes late. They wouldn't let her in, so she watched outside. She's got a lot of footage of the outside. I can go into like all the details of what happened, kind of, but you can't record, and I'm not the person you should send in to write details down. But 2 seconds after being there, I noticed that like every news station has a reporter in there, and all of them were writing ferociously the whole time, and that everybody was talking. So I decided that my job would be to read the room, and that's what I did. So they brought out Cole first, and when he sat down, the room was pretty quiet. Now there is some family members in the back left side of the courtroom. I don't know whose family members it was, but they were kind of being consoled, and also I want to be careful how I say this. They did have like an armed guard standing next to that family, and it seemed like it was almost, you see like, these you see like these courtroom, brawls and stuff. Like I think they are worried about like some types of retaliation. Every person that came out had a bulletproof vest on. Tad's body language looked like he was very awake, like realizes what's going on and realizes the weight of it. And basically how the arraignment happened is they brought them out one by one. There's 4 attorneys representing the state of Oklahoma. I hope I never get on their fucking bad side. They look like 4 pissed off dudes to me. One of them's like 7 foot tall, it seems like. And they sat there, and the smallest one stood up and he read all the charges. So what I decided to do is, while he was reading the charges of what the state is alleging these people did, I watched the body language of the defendant and also the family. When they were reading the charges for Cole, a lot of head shaking left and right. Now, I'm not a body language expert, but I would not say that this was him saying, no, this didn't happen. As somebody, just a fly on the wall being in there, it looked like somebody saying like, why the hell what just happened? Why did this get this bad? It looked like somebody who had kind of come to a realization that shit was no longer okay. Then they brought Tad out. Now, when Tad came out, that's the only time there was an outburst in the courtroom. I'm nervous this isn't going to be... So when they brought Tad out, that was the only time that there was an outburst in the courtroom. Somebody, I think, called him a motherfucking piece of shit. I don't know. There was an outburst. Somebody from the family area called him a piece of shit, motherfucking... I don't remember. Something along those lines. When that happened, the armed officers moved closer to the family, and then also kind of stepped in between Tad and the family, and then they just continued on. That was literally the only like verbal outburst. Tad's demeanor during the arraignment looked like he was annoyed to be there. His will you hold this for me, film here? So his arms were flexing the whole time. Like the whole time he was there, his arms were flexing while he was sitting down. I don't know if that's normal behavior for this dude, but he looked very annoyed, like almost like too bothered to be there. Very annoyed, and his arms were flexing the whole time. They brought Tiffany Adams out, and her demeanor very defeated, like a very defeated demeanor, almost like end of a rope, almost like I don't care what you do to me kind of attitude. It seemed like didn't seem to have much of a... There's a lot of regret in all 4 people. I don't know if they're regretful for their actions or their sins, or they're regretful because they're sitting in a courtroom right now. I don't know what that's about, but I know there's a lot of regret. And then they brought out Cora. They bring out Cora. Everything was verbatim, exactly the same, except for Cora. She did have... Now, please go to the national news outlets. They're going to give you the details. All those ladies and the gentlemen were writing profusely. They have the facts. I'm just telling you what the body language was. Cora did have some type of motion she brought forward. It had to do with essentially with her not having any money, which is a big thing I want to talk about. So anybody who kind of follows the story locally, I've heard a lot that Tad and Tiffany had some kind of money, or they were okay financially. I've never heard anything about the Twomleys, but I do know when the judge asked each one of them individually, do you have the money for an attorney? Tad and Tiffany both easily, without hesitation, said, yes, that's not going to be a problem. Cole said, my family's trying to find out if we can hire an attorney. And Cora basically handed over that thing saying, like, I have no money, I have no belongings, I cannot afford an attorney. So that's kind of showing you, 2 weeks ago they were all friends. Now you would think 4 friends and 2 of them have a bunch of money and the others don't, and now they all need help. It's kind of crazy how 2 of them still have money and the other 2 don't. So that's a power dynamic I noticed in there with that thing. The only real emotion I would say that I saw from any of the defendants was Cole and Cora. They both looked very regretful about being here today. But again, I cannot co-sign on saying that's because they're regretful because they helped take part in evil, or because they're regretful because they're caught. And I got to tell you, when they're reading these charges, and I'm just sitting there in the media area watching these people absorb this shit. Like, it's very daunting to have 4 pissed off lawyers sitting there just staring at you and telling you, hey, we think you did this, and then they told all of them that in Oklahoma we do the death penalty. Like, you might receive the death penalty, is what all 4 of these people were told today. They didn't say that was what's going to happen. They're just saying in this state, that's a possibility. You might be put to death over some shit that you did. Another aspect was, after the end of the Brill hearing, each one of them had a chance. They were explaining their rights to be bonded out in the state of Oklahoma. Like, pretty much anybody can be bonded out, except there is going to be some issues anytime it's a capital offense. Now, right now, we're doing all 4 people have at least one capital offense charge, some of them multiple, all of them multiple, I guess. So the judge has denied any type of bail or bond to all 4 people. None of them are going to be getting out. They're going to be spending time in Texas County. None of them had attorneys. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but none of them had attorneys. But I don't think that they would have. It seemed like they were this was not a trial. This was essentially the judge explaining to the defendants, like, hey, this is what the state is saying, saying that they have on you, and this is how we're going to proceed. I know that there was a woman in the courtroom from the local affiliation here who is basically all 4 of them have attorneys now that have been the process has been started to get them attorneys paid for by the state of Oklahoma. I guess how that works is, after each one, a lady would walk up and sort of whisper in their ear, hand them her card, and essentially I think it's now up to the defendant to, once they get back to the detention center, to call the number and get the public defender on their side. From what was said in there, it sounds like Cole and Cora are definitely going to have to go the public defender route. It sounds like Tad and Tiffany more than likely have some type of funding that it doesn't seem like they're too super worried about that. But I think that is it. Jessica, do you want to, what was it like out here? I mean, anything happen out here?
There wasn't anything that happened out here. I did see somebody that was related to Cole, or not Cole, it was Tad. And she was by herself, and I did kind of feel bad for her. I mean, because it's not her fault. But other than that, nobody said anything really besides their own little, comments amongst themselves. The only one I can say as far as body language is Cora's the only one that walked in there with her head down. The rest of them had their heads held up. So that's about all I seen.
And because the dude, not Tad, Cole, like, he shook his head a couple times, and again, it just looked like frustration, like, why did this go down this way? But she was the most affected out of all of them. Again, I don't know what her motivation for sadness is, but she is not feeling it today. She is not feeling it. But that's what happened here today. I believe, again, check all the major news outlets, the people that are getting paid to be here. I believe it is going to be the 15th is going to be the next hearing around 9 a.m. But again, check all the official news outlets. They're going to have all of the details of what was said. They're all professionals. They all had their pens and paper. There was no recording, and they all wrote. And I just wanted to watch the room. I will say this, a lot of people are paying attention to this case, but when you hear like a whole side of a room, you can sense like the sadness when these people walk into the room and knowing they're like, oh yeah, that these people over here that are upset, they're not just nosy like us, like their daughter's gone, like very, very serious situation. But Back Home Media here reporting. Shout out to Texas County. Shout out to the OSBI. Shout out to FBI. Shout out to all the news outlets. This is really good. This is really good. We got some bad people in jail, and looks like we're going the right direction. We'll see you soon.